Hey everybody, today I am out in Detroit taking a look at the all-new Chevy Equinox EV. I can't tell you how it drives yet, but we can talk about just about everything else, and I can surely show you around the vehicle. This is not related at all to the gasoline Equinox. Let's take a look at the front end design first here. I appreciate the fact that Chevy is making two completely different Equinoxes. They share absolutely nothing with one another, other than the name and a little bit of the styling elements. They've given this a distinctive look versus the upcoming redesign of the Equinox, and it is of course closely related to the Chevy Blazer EV. Now, the big difference between the Equinox and the Blazer EV is going to be the drivetrain options that we find, and of course the price tag. This is going to be under $28,000 after the federal tax credit, but including the destination charge if you get the base model that's coming a few months later. This particular model is around $45,000 before that tax credit, but solidly under $40,000 including the tax credit. This is about 2 inches shorter than the Blazer, but we have about 4 inches less legroom in the back. And that's one of the weird quirks, I guess you could say, between the Equinox and the Blazer, is that this actually has a larger cargo area than the Blazer, but it has a smaller back seat. So there's a little bit of shuffling around when it comes to the interior dimensions. Now, moving around to the rear, we find full LED taillight modules, very similar design to the Blazer and of course the Equinox Ice, but definitely a different look. We have more of a bell-shaped profile here because aerodynamics is important, so they really curve the body in there a lot. And then we have this sort of two-tiered cake kind of thing going on here with a spoiler on top and then this bit of a ledge right there with the hatch. Now we might as well take a look at the cargo area while we are back here, because this is one of the big reasons to get the Equinox over some of the competition. We have a pretty square and upright cargo area for an electric vehicle. Under the load floor, we also have a lot of additional storage space. No spare tire, of course, but I suspect, some creative people might be able to put one in here and not lose too much storage space. Here we have the EVSE, the can fix-a-flat, and this large cargo storage well just there underneath it. Definitely lots and lots of cargo room. This cargo area is about 1 cubic foot larger than the Blazer if the rear seats are in place. But if you fold the rear seats down, you get more cargo room total in the Blazer, and that's pretty logical. Obviously, the other difference between this and the Blazer is going to be how the power is applied, because this is going to start as a front-wheel drive vehicle. There is no rear-wheel drive version like there is in the Blazer. I'll just go ahead and pop the hood so you can see what's going on here. Under the hood, we have a 213 horsepower front motor. You have the option of all-wheel drive for about $3,300. That's going to add a motor to the back and bring your horsepower total up to 288. Unlike the Blazer, there's no rear-wheel drive variant of this. Everything is powered by an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack that is the usable capacity, and charging is going to happen on the front quarter panel. It's going to have an onboard 11.5 kilowatt charger, which is definitely faster than the chargers we find on the BZ4X or the Solterra, pretty similar to the Mach-E. But unlike the Mach-E, we don't have an NACS or J3400 charge adapter available from GM yet. So you can see right here, we just have the CCS connector on board. General Motors has committed to the future J3400 standard, but we don't know exactly when that's going to happen on the Equinox or the Blazer, or et cetera, et cetera. Probably calendar year 2025, so we still have some time to wait. And a little bit later this year, we should be seeing adapters from GM in order to use the Tesla supercharger network. But the important thing to know is that this is not going to charge as quickly as some of the competition, especially the Korean competition. This is going to max out at 150 kilowatts peak. They will not give us a specification for 10% to 80% charge times, but they do say that you can add 77 miles of electric range in 10 minutes on the Equinox. That sounds good until you look at, for instance, something like a Ioniq 5 or an EV6, because they will do a 10% to 80% charge in 18 minutes. And that's going to give you over 200 miles of range in some of those models in a pretty short charge window. This, on the other hand, is going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to cost you significantly less, because this is going to be under $28,000 starting, and even the one that we're looking at here, it's going to be around $45,000 or $46,000, but you get that full $7,500 tax credit. Now let's take a look at the inside. One of the things I actually like about the Equinox, although this is probably controversial, is the fact that we don't get an all-glass roof in here. And that means in hot weather, it's about 85 degrees outside right now, my head is not being baked. And that's one of the things that a lot of manufacturers are not doing. A lot of manufacturers are simply copying Tesla with the all-glass roof, and I like the fact that GM is going in a slightly different direction. The front seats are pretty comfortable, but you should know that in this model, which is one of the mid-level trims, we still have a manual passenger seat. One of the reasons car companies give us all glass roofs is it effectively improves headroom, because we don't have the headliner, the insulation, and then the sheet metal on top. We just have that piece of glass. But Chevy decided to give us a lot of headroom anyway. So you can see I have, maybe about an inch and a half of headroom left, sitting very comfortably back here in the second row. On the other hand, you'll notice that the seat bottom cushion is a little bit closer to the ground than the gasoline Equinox. We don't have a hump right here in the middle. Actually, I guess it's maybe a tiny bit of a hump. It's maybe about 1/4 of an inch, but an essentially flat floor. USB charge ports and air vents back here for the rear passengers. That's a nice touch. Lots of legroom back here and lots of room to tuck your feet away in that footwell. The front seat's comfortably adjusted for me at 6 feet tall. You can see I have quite a bit of legroom left. However, the Equinox definitely feels cavernous in comparison. I was actually surprised by that, having not been able to sit in the two back to back. But when Chevy was shuttling us around out here in Detroit, we had 4 6-foot+ people in the vehicle, and I had just gobs and gobs of legroom. But headroom, that's really the win. Tons and tons of headroom back here. We have a fold down center armrest with cup holders there and 60/40 folding rear seat backs. I'll just go ahead and fold this 40% side so we can see what that looks like. It folds almost level with the cargo area in the back as long as that load floor is in the upright position. Now let's take a look at the dash. The style of the interior borrows a little bit from the Blazer and a little bit from the rest of the GM lineup. You can see that we have those attractive round sort of turban style air vents on the driver and front passenger side. Your eyes aren't deceiving you. The trim in here is sort of a metallic blue, and then we get this absolutely enormous 17-inch touchscreen infotainment system standard right there in the middle of the dashboard. We also have a really long windshield. This definitely has a very cab forward style vibe to it, and that really helps improve the aerodynamics of the vehicle, and it makes the interior feel a bit more roomy. Now, the one thing you'll notice we don't have in this infotainment system is Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. It's running the latest Google Android operating system, but doesn't support smartphone projection, mainly because logically, Chevy wants all the navigation data. So when you're navigating in the system, it's going to give you range estimation, charging directions, etc. They won't talk about exactly why they don't have CarPlay, but that is the most logical reason. You can see this model has automatic climate control there. It's a single zone system in this particular trim. And then we have the big LCD instrument cluster over there on the driver's side. No heads-up display, but we do have that little LED module up there that's for the autonomous braking and emergency notification system. The big thing, of course, is that we have Cadillac's Super Cruise system brought down to Chevy. And this is simply hands down the best hands-free driving system available in North America. It operates on over 700,000 miles of roadway in the US, including smaller rural roads like Texas's farm-to-market roads. And it's one of the best as far as driver notification, because this portion of the steering wheel is a light bar. It tells you what mode it's in by flashing lights at you. It turns green when it's operating, blue when it's ready, red when it needs intervention from the driver. And because it's right here in the driver's eye line, it's really easy to see what's going on. Now, going back to the center console, we have a really large storage area there with a wireless charging mat. A little bit of a small storage area there where you can put pens or pencils or something like that. USB-C charge ports or media interface ports, but it doesn't seem like they work with Apple smartphones even as a media device. We have a flip to the side center console area there. Go in for a closer look. It's a relatively narrow storage area. You can see by that little divider right there. And that's one of the other differences between this and the Blazer, is that this interior is narrower than the Blazer. So you'll certainly notice that the passenger and the driver are sitting a little bit close together. Under the center console, there's a reasonably sized storage area. You can see that we have a manual tilt telescopic steering column for the driver. And then over here we have the electric parking brake button, the lane centering button, auto brake hold, etc. And then above that, this is again that air vent there. I really like the styling that we find on these air vents. I think GM has done an excellent job with this. We also find a very similar look in the Chevy Trax with the little blue accents right there around that ring. You rotate it around to open it and close it. Now, while I'm here, I should show you the driver's seat, because this 2LT trim actually has 4-way adjustable lumbar support. That is a really handy touch, because a lot of the competition, even on the upper end trims, just give you 2-way lumbar for the driver. The big thing, of course, with the Equinox EV is its price tag. It's not as big, it's not as fast, it's not as efficient, it doesn't charge as quickly as some of the competition, but it is significantly less expensive than just about everything else. With the federal tax credit, which again, it's going to get the full one, point of sale, this is going to be under $28,000 including destination. So not quite as inexpensive as the Bolt and Bolt EUV, but a lot closer than a lot of folks had anticipated. Now, keep in mind that the Bolt is coming back, but it's taking a few years off. So we don't expect it to be on sale until maybe calendar year 2025, very late in the year, or calendar year 2026. But this is going on sale right away. Now, that 2LT trim is going to be the base trim at the beginning. The 1LT trim, that is coming a little bit later. However, if we're not talking about all-wheel drive, every trim level of this front-wheel drive is going to be under $40,000, including that destination charge if you qualify for the tax credit. That's a big, big deal. And they're all going to get 319 miles of range. If you want all-wheel drive, that's a $3,300 option. That's going to take your 0 to 60 time from around 8 seconds to under 6 seconds. It is definitely decently quick in its all-wheel drive version. The front-wheel drive version, it's pretty comparable to the average, like a RAV4 or a CR-V or the gasoline Equinox. But any way you slice it, this is significantly less expensive than a Model Y or the Ioniq 5 or the EV6. Be sure and sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the styling of the Equinox. Should Chevy have done something differently? Would you be willing to pay an extra $10,000 for something that charges faster? I think that's really the bottom line with this. Yes, there are vehicles that are going to go faster, charge faster, give you more room, give you more range, etc., but they're all going to cost an awful lot more. And this is one of the first EVs in North America that's right about price parity with a mainstream competitor. We've seen price parity with something like a luxury entry before, but this on the mainstream side, this really could be a game changer. As long as Chevy can build enough. And that's probably the last thing I should mention, is that Chevy has had some issues with Ultium platform vehicle construction previously. I don't know whether they've solved that. I really hope they have. They say that they're going to be able to build as many as people want to buy. I really hope that's true, because I suspect there's going to be a pretty long line waiting for Equinoxes, because a lot of folks are probably going to be interested in this. See all of you later. Hit me up down there in the comments section. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Find us over at Twitter, Facebook, etc., etc., etc. I'll see all of you next week.